Welcome back to SportsLine here on News Channel 5 Plus. Jon Burton with you until the top of the hour. So much to get to, and we need somebody that knows a little bit about everything going on. So we bring back friend of show, sports columnist from The Athletic here in Nashville, the great Joe Rexrode. Joe, good evening. Thanks for being on the show.
JB, good to be with you, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great to talk to you as always. All right, you were at the luncheon today honoring Pekka Rinne, and, I know, neither one of us have been here in Nashville our whole lives or our whole careers, but we understand what Pekka Rinne means, not only to the Nashville Predators, but to the city of Nashville. And, I mean, first of all, notwithstanding the fact that he's just an absolute mensch. I mean, he's the nicest, classiest athlete I've ever covered in my career. But just the fact that he's really, the way I see it, Joe, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, he really is Nashville's first forever guy as a professional athlete, right? I mean, Steve McNair did not finish his career here. Eddie George did not finish his career here. Keith Bullock did not finish his career here. I could go on. And obviously on the collegiate level, we've seen some great players and guys have stayed all 4 years either at Vanderbilt or Tennessee. But, I mean, Pekka Rinne, once a Predator, always a Predator, only a Predator, was drafted here and ended his career here, played his entire career in Nashville for the Predators.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I hadn't even thought about that until this week, and it's a great point. And, I don't want to forget someone, like with the Titans, but I can't think of anyone. Like Blaine Bishop? Would he have been?
You might be right on that. You might be right on that.
Maybe Blaine, but like it's very rare, and I think certainly it's increasingly rare in the NFL. And the Preds may have more. They may have Roman Josi in the same boat, Forsberg in the same boat, but yeah, no question. I mean, for first guy like that, at that level for that long. You're talking about a jersey retirement, and then, you could talk about just overall popular athlete in Nashville of all time, I've got to think the two guys you mentioned there, McNair and George right there. I think Derrick Henry already, and certainly by the time he's done, will be there. But, I mean, you can make a strong case for Pekka Rinne. Like you said, I mean, I'm with you on his – how classy he is. I mean, he's as good as it gets, I mean, he's just a genuine guy. And I don't say that lightly because one thing, look, as John, I mean, we don't know these people that well, right? I mean, there are people who I've come across who do a very good job of projecting something publicly, and it doesn't necessarily mean that's who they are. But then there's some people you just know they're just, this is who they really are, and I feel great about that with Pekka Rinne. I mean, you can't find a person who's encountered him who isn't a huge fan of his. So, I mean, it's quite an honor, but it really says something about his place in Nashville sports history. I think 20 years from now, whoever comes through here and has great careers and all that, I mean, they'll still be compared to him.
I don't think there's any question about it, Joe. And, I think about his last couple of years with the Preds, right? This was after the run in 17 and winning the President's Cup in 18. And, it had become clear that, UC Saros was the next guy in line. And just what a great teammate he was, what a great mentor he was with UC Saros. Obviously, they're both from the same country, so there's some kinship there. But it's ironic to me that they're playing the Dallas Stars tomorrow night, because I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was the bubble year, but I think it was shortly before, it was either right before or right after the slowdown due to COVID. Saros got the start on a Saturday afternoon game in Dallas against the Stars. I believe he pitched a shutout, just played outstanding. And I just remember after the game, all the players come up and they congratulate the goalie after a win, which is tradition. But I just remember Pekka Rinne skating over and giving him this big bear hug, and he had this big smile on his face. And to me, that was basically him saying, "It's yours now." I'll be here if you need me. I'll back you up whenever you need, but it's yours now, and I bequeath this to you. I don't know if you remember that moment, but it just speaks to me of what kind of person Pekka Rinne is and was.
Yeah, well, and I don't remember that exact moment, but certainly, you got think about we're doing the hockey football thing, like the quarterback rooms. So I was like, oh yeah, everybody supports each other and their friends, and there's a lot of good quarterback rooms or position rooms or whatever, and there's a lot of teammates who are competing for spots who get along well. But I mean, this was seriously like Batman and Robin, like UC Soros was his ward,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yes, great.
Teaching him how to
yes,
set up a savings account and cook and So I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, it was and I will say, I don't know if Pekka Rinne, I think a lot. I can speak for myself. I'll raise my hand. Mm-hmm. Was surprised at all by how good UC Soros has become. Because you saw the flashes going back to the 16-17 season when he ascended to become his backup, but I mean he's become so good, and I just feel like you got to give Pekka Rinne a little bit of credit for that too, just in terms of how he dealt with that, how the relationship, the strength of it, and really mentoring him and trying to help him get better and better, knowing that basically he was going to be taking his job.
Joe Rexrode is our guest, sports columnist from The Athletic. And, of course, tomorrow night, Joe, the tip of the iceberg, really, because we've got the outdoor game, weather permitting, coming up Saturday night. And, I think it says a lot for the National Hockey League to single out Nashville. We all know, the run in 2017, which really put the Predators and Nashville and this city's love for this hockey team on the map. And, of course, we had the outdoor game in Dallas a couple of years ago against the Stars at the Cotton Bowl. But, you guys asked Pekka this morning, if he ever thought that there would be a, Stadium Series outdoor game here in Nashville. And he said no, and look where we are now. And, and just talking to some of the NHL officials that, like we have the last couple of weeks, they've been very impressed with how this city embraces not only hockey, but you and I both know, Joe, this is a party town. People love to just go somewhere and have a big old party. And that's what we're going to have Saturday night.
No doubt. And, it's interesting to hear that perspective from Pekka Rinne and different people in the organization too, about how people who've been here long enough, saying this seemed like such a far off thing. I mean, I think the All-Star game opened up a lot of possibilities. Mm-hmm. But actually, I think the unplanned Cup final run was another huge step toward that. First of all, showing off what this is as a hockey town, but also as an event town. And, so look, this is the expectation. I will say that the standard, the expectation is very, very high. I mean, it's like, boom, this is going to be the best one, right? This is going to be the best party. This is going to be the best setting, and then the best time for the people here. But, Nashville consistently delivers that. So, it should be a great night. I think they expect a sellout or awfully close to it. And it's just, you think about what the weakness is, and certainly this was planned by the President. I mean, they planned the Pekka Rinne night when they found out, the Stadium Series date. Mm-hmm. So they wanted this to be all 1 week, but what a wild week it is to have all that together. And it's cool that now you can have Pekka Rinne and his family and all his friends and old Predators and all that stuff here, for that game too.
Well, obviously, this is a tough stretch for the Preds. Obviously, the Stars tomorrow night on Pekka Rinne night. But then, to turn around and, the pomp and circumstance of the outdoor game notwithstanding, you got the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning coming in. I think about that to say this, Joe. I think it was really important for them to get a win last night in Florida, get off the schneid. They hadn't won since the All-Star break, hadn't even gotten a point since the All-Star break. How big of a relief do you think it is to finally, just get that win so you don't have that hanging over your head either tomorrow night on Pekka Rinne night or Saturday night when they play the outdoor game against the Bolts?
Yeah, I think pretty huge. And it doesn't guarantee, anything in terms of their performance, obviously, in the next two games. But to me, it even just, I think it made today different, Mm-hmm. I think it makes everything different because it's not a desperate team, and it's not a team that is struggling to the extent that they kind of take up some of the conversation. It's like, what an incredible night, but gosh, this team, what's going on with them?
Right.
You get that, you get that win, and to me, it's the best win of the year, all things considered.
Yeah.
Best home team in the NHL, best offensive team in the NHL. You're playing with your backup goalie. You're on a 4-game losing streak. You're down 3-1 in that game. I think it's the biggest win of the year for them. So now, you can just kind of, chill it out. Everything's okay. Enjoy the week, and I still think, whether they lost or won the other night, I'm sure they're going to come out on fire against Dallas. Of course, you don't want to be so on fire that you're in the penalty box every 5 minutes. But but yeah, I think it's helped chill things out nicely for this week for people to enjoy it.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and obviously, kind of a big monkey off their back to get that win. Joe, when you look at this Predators team, they got a 94% chance to make the playoffs, so let's go ahead and assume that they will. How much noise can they make in the playoffs, or is it too early to tell right now?
Well, I certainly think that they could make noise. I mean, when you have a goalie, the quality of UC Saros, and when I think at this point, more than a year now, when he really got it going last year to get them into the playoffs, and really since then, he's pretty much been the same guy. I mean, he's the level of goalie that can put a team on his back and go on a run, I think, in the spring. I think there's a lot to like about this team. Obviously the top line guys are actually performing like it this year. That's the big difference between this, last year and this year. And then you got a kid like Tanner Jeannot now, 17 goals. That line, the herd line, whatever you want to call him. I like herd line. Shout out Kara Hammer.
Always shout out Kara Hammer. She's one of my favorites. Love her to death.
Absolutely. Those guys have just been tremendous. I mean, Tanner Jeannot turns that game around last night with the shorthanded goal. They play a consistently physical style of hockey. They're a big, strong, heavy team, which is so different even from a couple of years ago. To me, like, you got to clean up some of the mistakes in the defensive zone. Someone like Dante Fabro. You gotta keep progressing and not make those killer mistakes. And then more young guys, Eli Tolvanen, Philip Tomasino. Like, can you get more out of them? Can you get more production? Tolvanen, they've been very good, and frankly, his season has been a pretty big disappointment. I mean, what if he can get playing like he did for a lot of last season and really give them another shred on the power play, give them another, again, the secondary scoring. If they can find some of that stuff and keep everything else good, the top guys playing well. I mean, you expect a Mikhail Granlund to keep playmaking. Roman Jost is going to be great. But keep Duchesne, Forsberg, those guys scoring. I think this team can be very dangerous in the spring.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was at the arena a couple of weeks ago, Joe, just taking in a game, not really as a fan, but just there in a non-working capacity. Just, on Tuesday night, go out and enjoy the game. I think it was Vancouver. And I saw Tanner Jeannot play for the first time in person. I can't believe this guy wasn't drafted, and B, to me, this guy's got future All-Star and MVP candidate written all over him. His size, his skating ability, his physicalness, his touch around the goal, his shooting touch. I mean, this guy's the classic two-way power forward in the NHL, is he not?
Yeah, no, it is amazing. Like, watching him play, and like, how the heck? I mean, obviously he's gotten a lot better, right? I mean, he's improved, but still, it's like he just looks so can't miss now when you look at everything all put together. And no, I mean, I think it's just a rare kind of player, a guy who is that physical and imposing, and then still has those hands and that ability, that touch, like you said. I mean, there just aren't many guys like that. So, we'll see. Is he going to keep progressing and get to that, what you're talking about? I could see it. I think it's certainly possible. But even if he's just like a 20 to 25 goal guy who does all the things he does to intimidate and pummel the opponent, I mean, there's a ton of value in that.
No question. Joe, I'm up against the break. Can you hang for another segment?
Sure.
Oh, the great Joe Rexrode always comes through when we need him. We'll take a break, come back and talk with more with Joe Rexrode from The Athletic here on SportsLine. Stay with us.